This is Mario once again with MIA Microflight, and this is my one of the Anycubic 2 megas that I am working on. This is the power supply that I bought. It's a little bit too big to fit inside the case here, so I'm using this temporarily to power it up while running it with a fix here to this board. This board had a blown Mosfet. That first LED that you see there goes to fan number 2, which is the fan that powers cools the heatsink right here. So that's fan number 2. Fan number 1 is this one right here for the stepper drivers, and fan 0 is the one that cools the parts. That is the one that is attached to this shroud here. Right now it's not connected, but that works just fine. And I had this blown Mosfet here, and I replaced it with a much better one. I didn't know exactly the equivalent of the part that it had. I could try to find it online, and I just could not find it. I spent a great deal of time trying to cross-reference it. I could not find any information, but just common sense logic and knowing a little bit about how these things are assembled, I decided to just go ahead and replace it with an NP Mosfet, N-channel Mosfet that is rated at 6 amps. This powers the fan that is rated at 12 volts at 0.8 amps is what the rating on the fan is, and so anything that 1 amp and above, should be just fine. In fact, what I installed here is way overkill for the fan, but that's all I had, so it's working just fine. You can see how the circuitry is. It's got that fan turned on. Yeah, still working. So I have to turn it off. I'm going to turn off the machine, and I'm just going to put everything back the way it was. It's working just fine. The fix worked, and so I wanted to share this with some viewers there that may have experienced a blown Mosfet. This is an N-channel Mosfet. I can verify that because that's what I installed here, and it's working just fine. Don't go too crazy trying to look up that number. That number is, by the way, it's a BCDP8N. I thought it was an N8, but it's an 8N. You could not cross-reference that to anything of any value, so I just decided to just bite the bullet and go with a much better Mosfet, and it's working just fine. Anybody's interested in knowing how I went about desoldering and resoldering the new component, you can email me and I'll give you those instructions. But it's really simple for anybody that has done PC board repair work. You just got to be careful not to bridge any components with solder, and not to burn anything in the process. So what I did is I ended up taking off the plastic connector for that fan, so it'll give me a little room to work on the back side of the Mosfet, so that I could take it out and put the new one in place. It's working just fine. And, it just saved me buying a new board. And so if you know how to do these things, it can save you a lot of, it takes a little bit of time, but it can save you, quite a bit of money. This board along the Trigorila, from what I've seen on Amazon, they go for about $83. And, for things such as just a small Mosfet, it can cost you a couple dollars. It's worth it taking the time to repair it if you know how to do these things. Anyway, this is where I'm at. I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to turn this off, and I'm going to continue to wait a couple more days for the capacitors. I did another video that talks about how these capacitors went bad on the original power supply, and so I got a new power supply, but unfortunately this one does not fit in there, and so I'm just using this for to power this up, just to make sure that I wanted to make sure that the Mosfet was working properly in the Trigorila board. So I'm going to disconnect this and just I'll just wait till I get the new capacitors, installed those here, put everything back, and everything will get back to original working order with the original parts from Anycubic. And this is an Anycubic i3 Mega once again.